All right, so this is a Nove Education podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I know it's been a minute, but it is March 18th, Tuesday morning, middle of the week. There's been so much that we missed out on. But reason why I wanted to come on here, you read the title, most likely. I was talking with my cousins, Joey Caps and Just Incredible. And last season, my cousin Joe, it was like his first season diving into like fantasy football. And he didn't, at the beginning of the season, like week 2, he was like, hey, I'm gonna just give you the money and I'm gonna call it a day. Like, what the fuck? Everybody who knows, like, it's just week 2, but we know that feeling. Like, if you down 0-2, it's it sucks. Reality is it's only week 2, but he wasn't really confident in his draft, you know what I'm saying? And then some players that he wanted to perform weren't performing, but I kind of gave him some inspiration, I would say, just to help him out, to keep him moving forward. And he ended up being in the playoffs. He ended up playing against me in the playoffs, and he was 1 game away from the chip, but you know what it is, bro. Your boy. You know what it is. We took the title last season, and it got me thinking, like, fuck, like, what type of new strategies would I want to, like, have going into this season? I know it's early, bro. It's March 18th. The draft hasn't even happened. Fucking, I don't know where I want these rookies to go. But I decided to talk about it nonetheless. What I noticed that these past few years, a few things. One, I guess we can go with is the quarterback situation. Let's go with the quarterback situation. Usually strategies, well, mine, but from a lot of fools who play fantasy football, they get quarterbacks later. They get value later. That's what they want. What I've done, what I did last year, right? Try to get the best value at the best price, all that. What I've come to find out, besides the rarity of a few, like a few dudes who popped out on the scene, or they were rookie that season, every quarterback who has been in like the playoffs, like I'm talking about in your fantasy teams, every fantasy team that has been in the playoffs or the championship had the top like 8 guys. I'm looking at Fantasy Pros right now to help me out. The top 8 guys, bro. I am looking to get someone very early. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, and that's pretty much it. Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, Kyler Murray, Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix, Caleb, Stroud. All these players, you're taking a bit of a risk on, just because they don't take you over the top. If you've ever been in the playoffs, you ever been in a championship, you see the same names at the quarterback position on the opposite side. You see Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, like Baker Mayfield. Last year, it was a bunch of Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, and Josh Allen, bro. So I'll be looking for quarterbacks early. I think I'm going to be all in. If you really want to take those risks, I would rather take them way later, just as I've always done. There's no one really that I get really excited for. Maybe like Michael Penix Jr., Justin Fields, maybe JJ McCarthy. But like I'm saying, like, those are big risks. Those are all big risks. Stroud, Drake May, Richardson, Prescott maybe can be a value, if he stays healthy and they get some good draft picks. But all those risks, like, it's something you don't want in that position, especially in like quarterback position. If you have a quarterback, you don't need to do no little pickup strategies. All you need to do is just play your stud, and he's going to make you the favorite majority week to week, right? So that's what I'm going to be going into. Also, like, in regular, we're talking about 12 to 14 teams, not like 10 to 8, nothing wrong with that is what I'm saying, though. It's just, I think a 12 team league is a good middle point for everybody. 10 teams, every team's pretty much studded. 8 teams for sure, like for sure studded. So 12 gives you that leeway. 14 is 14 to 16 is stretching it. So a 2 running back, like 3 wide receiver league is what I'm thinking of. 1 tight end. I'm gonna go running back heavy this coming up season, bro. I think I have to, dog. These past few seasons, I kind of stay away from early running backs. Like I'll get 1 stud and then I'll start stacking my fucking pass catchers and I'll get a fucking pass catching running back a little bit later. Me personally, I've been struggling with that for these past few years now. Like last year, I was lucky enough to get 2 studs, right? 2 studs in the draft. And like I was going for always like Alvin Kamara, Kyron Williams, like Jahmyr Gibbs, Saquon. You're going for these players because they're fucking worth it. If you have 2 major running backs on your team, you are always going in a heavy favorite because those type of running backs, Saquon, Jahmyr, Taylor, this one you go Kyler, last season is what I'm saying. Chris McCaffrey before Alvin Kamara last season. Those type of studded receivers who are just always going to get it done, they're going to be so much backbone of your team. Obviously this is not counting injury, but they're going to be a backbone of your team, bro. Like, and when you have those 2, you have flexibility to work around with other shit, with the tight end position, with the wide receiver position, right? And that's, I guess, what we're going to lead into next, bro, the wide receivers. Chances are you got to get 1 stud, right? But this season for me, and again, this could all change, like, come draft day. This is way too early. But what I'm thinking is now going into it is there's wide receivers later that I might think about taking some chances on, bro. Like, what I'm talking about. Okay, this is before your first and second, after your first and second receiver. You already got your Amon-Ra, or you got your AJ Brown, you got your Drake London, Terry McLaurin. Like, you got those type of players already. If you go down, bro, like there's 2 guys who are really, I've been thinking about for the past few weeks since all these news been coming in. Well, 3 guys really. One is going to be Davante Adams. And these are going to be risks, mind you. They're risks and taking the chance on for a reason. But as long as Matthew Stafford stays healthy, I think Davante Adams is going to be a great fucking value pick for you. 1, and this is just my opinion right here. 1, nothing showed me that fool's been washed, dog. Nothing showed me that he's been washed. I think he's one of those receivers who's fundamentally sound, who knows the game of football, and is still not beaten up by the sport. Keenan Allen comes to mind. Adam Thielen comes to mind. Well, Thielen's beat up by the sport, but you know what I mean. And when you have a Puka Nacua on the other side, if Matthew Stafford goes down, that's going to feel worse for you, right? Because you're getting Puka way early. So Davante Adams is someone who I'm looking at like right now, trying to see like where he goes in like mock drafts or like where he's ranked. Obviously, the receivers haven't come into play. There's a few receivers in the rookie class like I'm kind of excited for, but this year it's going to be mainly running back rookies that are gonna make the biggest splash. So if you can hit somebody like a Davante Adams or this next name, depending on what happens with the quarterback situation, George Pickens, bro. Now look, I know that Pickens is one of those players that he's been very hit and miss. But last season to me was the first season that he was able to show that he can put up dominant fantasy numbers. All right. Is he a number 1 on a team? The jury's still up on that. We don't really know. There's players like Olave, Wilson, who we thought they were ones, but they're not. We know they're not dominant ones, right? Is Pickens a 1 or not? I don't know, but he is that caliber. You know who is number 1? DK Metcalf. Metcalf is a number 1 receiver that you need to have locked down on. You need to have game plan for. right? So I think this gives kind of a similar situation to Davante Adams, where it gives leeway for George Pickens to do his thing against not the best DB on the field. You know, obviously they're going to have game plan for Pickens too, but it opens up a lot, bro. I know the passing chart is going to be smaller for these type of players, but these are the type of players like you want to hit on week to week basis, bro. Because if your third receiver scores a touchdown, gets 4 receptions and then some, you probably going to win your week. You know what I'm saying? So, and Pickens can do that. Davante Adams can do that. This next name, name is going to be the biggest like risk, you know, what I've been thinking about. It's Cooper Kupp, bro. We don't really see wide receivers who were once a dominant fucking force for one specific offense completely get, you know, traded or let go to another team. We don't see them really be that dominant anymore, especially with the situation. New quarterback, it's a new scheme, and then you're kind of playing number 2 to JSN's fiddle. But JSN's fiddle, I don't know what the fuck that was, bro.
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
But the jury's still out on JSN as well. Can he be a number 1? I think he really could. But if he's not, there's still going to be a load where Sam Darnold wants to. There's still going to be a piece of that target pie that Sam Darnold will be throwing it to. And look, Cooper Kupp, even though he may have slowed his step, he's one of those receivers who is smart. He's talented on the field, not like physically wise, but he knows defenses. He knows how to sit in those pockets. Sam Darnold is going to be one of those quarterbacks who is heavily rushed, who's going to be looking for those small check downs. And yeah, that may be good for Kenneth Walker, might be good for Charbonnet. But I'm thinking like Cooper Kupp, hey bro, a reliable wide receiver, someone who has been a stud not too long ago. It is a big risk though. So imagine if you get your boy like Nico Collins, and then later on you come back and get like a Mike Evans, right? And both of those who are pretty much like they're gonna get theirs every week, right? They're gonna get a red zone look. You want those players, and then you fucking hit on a fucking George Pickens bomb touchdown, and he has a fucking massive game. You know, that's gonna be one of those strategies you can go into. Tight end position. Usually the rule of thumb with tight end, if you ain't getting the top dogs from rank 6 all the way down to 32, bro, it's not looking good. The way I go about doing tight ends, if I'm not getting like the dude who I'm probably going to get, if it's going to be that early, it's going to be Trey McBride. If I don't get Trey McBride, I'm probably not even looking at a tight end to the end of my draft with the defense and the kicker. Because those 3 type of positions, tight ends, kickers, and defense, I'm going to be most likely streaming. If you can hit on a tight end that you really want, you know, we have the rookie coming in. Rookies have been showing out these past few years. Tyler Warren. If you can hit on one of those tight ends and you just believe in a guy, be my guest. But I'm not going to do that. If I don't have a Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, Sam Laporta, maybe Kittle now, you know, but, you know, Kittle's been injured. If I don't have any of those guys, I'm going to be streaming tight ends. And what I look for in tight ends, here's a kind of fucked up strategy. I haven't thought of a name for it, but it's kind of fucked up. I like to stream tight ends who have an injured pass catcher on their team. Because if you're an injured pass catcher, the chances are like your target share is going to be dumped off a little bit more onto the tight end position, right? And what you want from a streaming tight end, bro, you want the hope for a touchdown and about a couple catches, bro. Because it's gonna suck. But chances of if you go on one of these top guys, you know, Bowers, Laporta, McBride, honestly, if I don't get one of those 3 this season, I'm not really worrying about tight end too much. If you get one of those guys, that puts you at an advantage week to week because you're having success at a position where everybody else is struggling at, besides the other two owners, you know. Then the Brock Bowers owner, he's going to your Raider fan, homie. If you're a Raider fan, you got to pick back Brock Bowers number one, right? If, you know, round one, he ain't coming back to you, bro. I just want you guys, all you Raider fans, know Bowers is not coming back to you. And if you're, tell you right now, if you don't get your guy, like I'm a Saints fan, if I didn't have Alvin Kamara last season, I was pissed all season that he was doing great. So go get your boy. But that's how I see tight ends, bro. And then defenses and kickers. Defense is pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna draft a defense for that week one. The best chance to give me an interception or going up against a low scoring offense. That's week one. Same thing with kickers. Week one, I'm getting the kicker on the team to where I think their offense is going to be on the opponent's side of the 50 majority of the game, right? Because there's always a chance for those type of kicks, 30-yard kicks, maybe 50-yard kicks. I prefer kickers to be important to the teams. A lot of you guys don't. A lot of you guys don't like kickers, which is cool. I played them. I don't really care, but I prefer kickers to be important. I think that is a streaming strategy. Like the strategy I go in with kickers, I try to not get a kicker who I know I'm going to keep. You know what I'm saying? Like the Butkers or, you know, Justin Tucker. Maybe not this year, Justin Tucker. I don't know. But like those type of kickers on those teams where it's like every week, I try not to get those players because I like those positions, defense, tight ends, and kickers to have streamability, right? You know, I like, or what I like to say is droppability. You could drop them, pick up somebody who you think is going to ball out in a few weeks, and who knows, you might have an injury to a player, put him in your IR, and then now you can stream your kicker, you know. Another strategy I like to go in, that's like the basic bottom line right there, what I just said. Another strategy I like to go in with kickers. Hey, you know it's too early when we talking kicker strategies. Fucking A. What I like to do is stream the kicker that is on the same team as my opponent's quarterback or stud player, right? Because I know that their quarterback is going to go down, get him points. I know that their stud player is going to go down and get them some points. So if they do happen to get on the other side of the 50, there is a chance for 3 points. There's a chance for 1 point. And then depending on how you guys use your kicking yardage points, there's all that. So that's like a little dirty, it's called a dirty kicker, where you're taking away some of your opponent's points on the other side. And it's just a little, it's not like a full bazooka blow. It's more like a small little stab wound, small little cuts, you know, where they won't kill you, but they'll hurt you. And that's what I like to call the dirty kicker. But you know it's too damn fucking early when you're talking about kickers and shit. What's going on in the fucking fight world though? Fight world, shit. We haven't even talked about Gervonta Davis, Lamont Roach, you know, Benavidez. We haven't talked Better Beef 2. I don't know where to begin, bro. I don't even know where to begin. I guess we'll go the most recent Gervonta David, Lamont Roach. First and foremost, I thought that should be a knockdown, right? That's how I always felt, and I always knew about boxing is that if you take a knee, it's a knockdown. That's how I always ruled it. The only way I could see them kind of like, the only way I could see this, the referee saying that it wasn't a knockdown, where it was like a type of slip situation. Even though it wasn't a slip, I just say slip. Shout out to all you ASMR lovers. Even though it wasn't a slip, that's the way I think that's how the ref called it. It was like a slip situation. It wasn't necessarily a knockdown, kind of, as you know, but still, the fact that he willingly went down on his knee should have been ruled a knockdown. But I still think Gervonta David was up, even if that would have been, even if it was a knockdown, I think it should have been a draw. I think he was up, not too crazy ahead, but well ahead enough for him to be winning that fight. A lot of people saw it the other way. Here's how I look at it, like now, like as it happened. Gervonta has become this like impossible to beat fighter. You know, he has that legacy about him. Like now we're starting to see like, you know, there's big events like when Tyson Fury got knocked down by Ngannou and didn't perform well. Like people thought he lost because he's this impossible to beat fighter, you know, or when same thing when Better Beef beat Bivol won. People thought like, oh, that Bivol had won because, you know, he shouldn't be beaten. He beat Canelo. You know, there's fighters like that, you know, where they've been put on this pedestal to be like, oh, like they can never be beat. Like mentally, people think that, but in reality, they are just human, bro, and they're just that talented to have you believe that. So, with all that being said, when a fighter like Lamont Roach, who isn't necessarily in the public eye a fucking superstar in boxing, he is a badass boxer and he is a fucking stud. He's a star in boxing. He's a champion. So for him to put up a good fight up against a Tank Davis, people start to think like, oh, well, Tank's not performing the way he usually does. He must have lost that fight. Lamont got robbed. Or Isaac Cruz versus Tank Davis. Oh, he didn't perform like he usually does. He must have lost that fight. Cruz won. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that situation where I saw Davis winning the fight, and then with the knockdown, it should have been a draw, but it was a draw by then, and people are gonna sway it the way they want. And I mean, you know, that's the way people have their own perspectives on fights. You know, there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of like, legacy breaking. You know, like when Usyk beat Tyson Fury the second time, you know, and then maybe we could segue into this, like when Bivol beat Canelo, right? When Bivol beat Canelo, a lot of people were just like, well, you know, like, you know, they didn't really give Bivol his props. You know, they just thought like, oh, you know, it's a one-off thing. No, it's because this dude is a skilled fucking fighter. He's a championship caliber fighter, and we see it now, him going up against Artur Beterbiev, which we can segue into that. That was probably the best fight, I don't want to say ever, that I've seen, but it's up there. The Beterbiev 2 fight is a bad ass boxing match. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's a lot. It's everything. There's no knockdowns, you know, there's no crazy fucking, I mean, there was crazy blows, but like, there's no like lopsided blows. There's no fucking antics, just straight up boxing at its best, at the pinnacle of boxing right now. Beterbiev versus Bivol 2. Bivol inches it. I don't know if he inches it. I think it was a unanimous or a split. I'm not too sure. I honestly thought Beterbiev won that fight again, but it's not something where I would say it's a robbery. Bivol did his fucking thing, and the strategies that these two fools went in on both these fights, it was just on another level. Like the way Bivol decided to attack early, take a few middle rounds off, and then finish the last few rounds on top or within a flurry. That was a good strategy as like to be in the judges' eyes, bro, because last fight Bivol kind of didn't do too much in the ending rounds. You know, it was all kind of at the beginning of the first 5 rounds. Yeah, Bivol was on it, but that's to take nothing away from Beterbiev, bro. I think Beterbiev, he was more dominant. I think his strategy going in was, I'm gonna power up these middle rounds and then finish it in the last few rounds, right? Now, I'm not talking about finish it about knockdown, but they both kind of clashed in the end to where it gave us one of the best fights I have ever seen. Do I agree? Yeah, like before the fight, I had Bivol winning this one, right? my boy Bryantology. Shout out Bryantology, excuse me. We always talk about boxing, and I told him, you know, I want Bivol to win, and I think he is going to win, and I hope for that third fight, because that third fight makes for it's a beautiful setup, and it makes for like a traditional type of ranking championship mega fight. I had said when Usyk beat Tyson Fury that it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter who would win the next fight, that I felt like that was the undisputed fight. That's how I feel about the trilogy fight between Beterbiev and Bivol. I think this is a higher level than Tyson Fury Usyk. Even though what Usyk did was fucking amazing, I felt like there was so much weight on that one first fight. With the second fight, it was cool to see. I was excited to watch it, but there was just so much weight, and I was very, very, very talkative on that point. This Beterbiev versus Bivol 3 is going to be that type of fight. There's going to be so much weight, where that first fight was very close. Beterbiev, he edged it out. The second fight was very close. Bivol edged it out. This third fight, this is going to be the one to say, all right, it's not even going to be a matter of who edged it out or who fucking knocked who out. Who wins this fight? And it's going to leave a permanent stamp on boxing forever. Like that gets me excited. Like when that type of boxing happens, not the fucking what is it, Jake Paul type shit, Mike Tyson. No, that is, I don't want to say a circus act, but it's not the high rank fucking boxing that we like to see. It's something else. It's something else. So when a fight like this, Beterbiev Bivol 2 comes out, and then the trilogy is about to happen, it speaks volumes for boxing, right? On the UFC side, they have those type of fights, but they don't have fights where you don't really want to see. Pretty much every fight in UFC you want to see. Honestly. Fucking. So yeah, needless to say, excited for Beterbiev Bivol 3. And what about Benavidez? Yeah, look, Benavidez is probably just gonna have to wait right now. I think this is the way the cards were dealt. You know, I felt like Beterbiev Canelo should have happened. Maybe Beterbiev Bivol should have happened. But right now, what I really am looking forward to, I don't want no fights in between, is Arthur versus Bivol 3, right? And then we talking about Canelo versus Crawford. I don't know if it's a real thing. I honestly don't know. I think, well, both fighters are set up to have a fight before that anyways, right? I want to see Crawford fight somebody, not necessarily in that weight class, but in a higher weight class, to where he can prove that he can hang as far as weight. I think he could, but it's going to take a lot for a lot of like the media and then the promotions to sell that type of fight, because that will be probably one of the biggest fights pay-per-view wise all time. Is it going to match Triple G Canelo 1 or 2? I'm not so sure, but if Crawford can make a big headline in that weight class before fighting Canelo, then that puts a lot of weight on that boxing match, because then that proves that Crawford could hang in this weight class. So we'll have to see, bro. We'll definitely have to see. UFC has been low-key, is it just me, or UFC been kind of dry lately? Y'all know, if you guys been listening to me, you know that I don't like to, you know what, actually, I like to brag about it when you make a call right, because they don't come often. But I've been calling for Magomed Ankalaev to be the UFC light heavyweight champion, bro. That was a mouthful. I think if this fight would have gone how most people thought, I think it would have done that. But to me, I feel that Magomed Ankalaev is a more complete fighter, and his striking is obviously underrated. I'm not considering his striking to be on par with Ankalaev's striking, but he has a lot more to fear. well, not necessarily fear, but like he has a lot more to work with. I know people say, like I listen to Brendan Schaub. Shout out to Brendan Schaub. I fuck with him, but not all the time where I see eye to eye to him. He makes a good point to where he says, why was Pereira afraid of Ankalaev's wrestling when he's never submitted anybody? And that's something to be said too. But I think the threat was there. Like it was big enough for him to be like, well, I'm not necessarily going to push that envelope. Don't get me wrong. Pereira fought a good fight. I think Ankalaev just fought a way better fight. And you could flip it how you want. That's just how it was. A lot of people have Pereira winning more rounds. You could talk me into that. You could sway me into that. But what I'm going to say is that Ankalaev brought it and didn't necessarily put his best foot like either, but he got it done. And what did I say from the beginning? Not only that he deserves that title shot, he is going to do it the way Bilal Muhammad did it, bro. Or he's just going to outwork you at the end of the day, bro. It's not going to be submission. There may be some TKOs, there may be some ground and pound situations, but whatever it is, at the end of the fight, whoever's fighting them is going to be outworked. And a lot of people don't, I get it. A lot of people don't like that because, you want to see knockouts, you want to see submissions. And, I would like to see that too. But I can also appreciate someone's like work ethic and grind, Eventually, there's going to be a superstar to come and maybe take that throne. But as of right now, I like to see the fighters who just work it out, bro. Who just work it out in the end, and then they get their credit when it's due. So a lot of people thought that was someone like Beneil Dariush, not necessarily a submission or a knockout artist, but he just wins and gets the job done. Like fighters like that, they deserve the credit as well, bro. I don't know, but that's just what it is. Anyways, hope everybody's having a good day. Thanks for tuning in. Go stream, download, like, listen, play, share. Catch you later. Peace.